Hey everybody, it's Emily at ARG Schooling, and today we're going to do my first quarterly update. The first 3 months of the year are done, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about my reading as we are right now. So, in the first 3 months of the year, I read a total of 42 books, and I thought I'd do a little genre breakdown. So I read 6 horror titles, 15 were historical fiction, 11 were fantasy, 6 were nonfiction, 7 were graphic novels or manga, 2 were mystery thrillers, and 4 were middle grade. And as for rating breakdown, so I had 13 5-star reads, I had 16 4-star reads, I had 11 3-star, and I had 2 2-star reads. So not too bad. I feel like that's, I don't rate lower than a 2-star, so that's not too shabby. Now let's talk, what were some of my favorite books that I read in the first quarter of the year? So these are not in any particular order, these are just the books that stuck out to me as favorites. I have Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King, We Must Not Think of Ourselves by Lauren Grodstein, Junie by Aaron Crosby Eckstein, Eleanor of Avignon by Elizabeth DeLozier, Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn, Max in the Land of Lies by Adam Gidwitz, The First Bright Thing by J.R. Dawson, Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books by Kirsten Miller, and Berlin by Jason Lutz. Those are like my standout books so far this year. And of course, the flip side of that, let's talk about my least favorite book so far. We have Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear, the newest in the Wayward Children series by Shauna McGuire. It's not a bad book. There's like, none of these are bad. Like, none of these books that I'm about to say were like bad. The lowest rating of any of these is a 3. They just weren't what I was expecting. And Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear is probably my least favorite in the entire Wayward Children series. The next would be Harlem Rhapsody by Victoria Christopher Murray. Again, there were elements of this that I definitely liked. It didn't hold my interest the way I thought it would. And there were elements of the story that I just didn't love. Then Watermoon by Samantha Yodo Yambao. Again, there were elements of this book that I thought were really great. I just, for a book this gorgeous and with such a fascinating premise, it just was kind of meh. And then finally, again, controversial, but I'm going to put it here anyway, I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. Again, did I hate it? No. I really did enjoy quite a bit of this book. However, based on my expectations, which were like so high, it was just okay. I don't know. I think I had pumped myself up too much. I had expected so much more out of this than what I got, and I was left with a lot of like unanswered questions, and I don't know. I might reassess this later in the year, but for now, I'm saying it's one of my least favorite. So the ARG Book Club has read 3 books so far this year. We read The Small and the Mighty by Sharon McMahon, I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, and Half-Life by Jillian Cantor. I enjoyed all 3 of these. I think my lowest rating was a 4, and the other 2 I gave 5 stars. So we're doing really well. I'm happy with how our book club selections are going so far. I think all 3 of those have been really thought-provoking books. They've given us lots to chew on and talk about. So I've really enjoyed that. The seasonal reads book club that I do with my channel members has read 1 book so far this year. We read Eleanor of Avignon, and this is like probably going to be in my top 10 of the year. This was such a good story. If you want to read an excellent historical fiction that has nothing to do with World War II, this is medieval, and it has to do with the plague, this is a book I would definitely recommend checking out. If you like stories about women in science, if you like stories set in the Middle Ages, if you like stories set around like medical things, like This story follows a woman who is a healer and a midwife, and she's trying to help the Pope's doctor figure out how to save people from the Black Death. So it's a really, really great story. I definitely recommend that. If you want to participate in that Seasonal Reads book club, we read 4 books a year. You can do that by joining my channel membership, and you'll have access to the book club. We just voted on our book for spring, so I'm really excited about continuing with that book club. We're going to be reading Babylonia by Costanza Casati, and that book is so pretty. I can't wait to read that in May. But moving on, let's talk about new releases. I always try to make it a goal to keep up with as many new releases as I can, because I always feel like I'm behind everybody else. I feel like I read a pretty good mix of new and backlist, and I feel like whenever things like everyone's top 10 of the year is always a ton of new releases. Unlike the Goodreads Awards, it's always all these new releases that I've never gotten a chance to read. So I've been trying. I keep track of that with pre-orders and books that I get as ARCs, and I try to see like how many I can read. And I have like a section in my bullet journal, which you probably can't really see, where I keep track and then I highlight the ones that I've managed to read. So far, in the first 3 months of the year, I read 10 new releases that I have acquired, whether they are books that I purchased or books that I have as ARCs, and I get them as e-ARCs usually through NetGalley. And 8 of those 10 were ARCs. So I do a much better job keeping up with new releases. If I get them as an ARC, I still can't keep up with all. I always request too many things, because in my head I'm like, well, they're not going to give it to me, so I'll ask anyway. And then they give it to me and I'm like, oh no, now I have 30 ARCs. So I don't keep up with them as much as I want, because it's just too much to read. But I do try to prioritize the ones that I'm like the most excited about. So I did read a bunch of new releases. So I don't know. We'll see how I do at the end of the year. But for now, I feel pretty good about the numbers. Let's talk about videos. I've been doing a few different things this year with my channel. But let's talk about like what were my most popular videos in the first 3 months. So first up, anytime I post about Stephen King. Those are always my most popular videos. I don't know why, but that is just the way it is. So my video where I talked about my unread Stephen King books is really high. That is like my most watched so far this year. And then after that would be my 5 favorite science books I've used in our homeschool. That's also a really popular one. Then my Stop Doom Scrolling and Read vlog did really well. My dystopian recommendations video did well, and the books that shaped me, where I talked about my favorite books growing up and like the books that I loved as a child, did pretty well. And that was also a really fun one to make. I really enjoyed like reminiscing about my favorite stories and pulling out pictures of myself as a child. That was fun. I've also discovered that like I knew this, but I'm trying to put more effort into it, that I really do enjoy making vlogs, because I find it's easier to make content when I don't have to like plan, like a sit down video requires me like having notes and like figuring out what I want to talk about and like having like all the setup for it. Whereas a reading vlog is just me kind of talking to you as I'm reading, which is a lot more casual, and I don't know, I really like making that kind of content. It's not always my most popular content, but I enjoy the process. So I might try to start working in more reading vlogs. Let me know what you think about that. Another thing that I've done a little bit differently so far this year that I really like, actually, and I would like to continue doing this going forward in some capacity. It may change a little bit, but it's the same idea, where I've always struggled with making end of the month wrap-ups, because by the end of the month I have already forgotten details about the things that I read earlier in the month, and then I'm just like trying to remember what I read. And like, I cannot remember anyone's name. I can't remember anything but vague details. So like, it's always been a hard thing to do. And I've either struggled through them and then felt stupid, or I just don't do them. But people always say that they like when I review books more, so I'm like, well, how can I make this work? So this year, I have been filming a book review for every single book I read, unless it is a book club book where I've done a live show, or like a vlog where I'm reviewing the book in the vlog. Other than that, like everything I read, I make a video. Now, channel members get to see those book reviews individually as they go up. But then at the end of the month, I compile them into one video so that I don't have to review all 13, 14, 18 books that I read in a month, because those are just never successful when I have to just like talk off the top of my head, like trying to remember the details. But this way, I've already made the video like immediately after reading the book or within a day or two, and then I can just like put those all together in one video and boom, monthly wrap up. I'm a genius. I don't know why it didn't occur to me to do this sooner instead of what I'd been doing before. I mean, I've been on BookTube for like 10 years. You'd think I would have figured this out sooner, but whatever. I've figured it out now. So I've really enjoyed doing that this year, and that is something I think I'm going to continue doing into the future. Like, this is my new method for end of the month wrap-ups, because it just makes it so much easier. Another thing I've been doing with my channel memberships too is like I make some extra content for my channel members that is exclusive to them. So like, not only do you get my videos early, but I also do little extras for you. So like, whenever I make my monthly TBRs, while I'm sitting here hunting around my house looking for the books to put in my TBR, you get to come along with me, and I call those my monthly TBR scavenger hunts, because you get to like help me pull things from my shelves that go with my TBR jar pick, whatever that prompt is, plus like any challenges like the buzzword book challenge, things like that, for you guys to follow along and see all that content. I also do like my monthly challenge wrap up. So right after I film my final wrap up video, I also film a challenge wrap-up that is just for my channel members, where I tell you how I did on all my different reading challenges that month, like which challenges I completed and all of that kind of thing. So those are fun. And then I also have a fun little project I've been doing with my husband called Rob Reads, where I am making my husband read my favorite books, and then we talk about it. So we have like a little book club. And so we're doing a book a month, and my channel members get to see his thoughts about that. So like, if that's something you'd be interested in seeing, if you think any of those things are fun or sound interesting, you're going to want to go ahead and become a channel member. I would love that. It's so much fun. And you get to have all that exclusive content, plus you get to participate in the book club. And come to my Discord. I have a little Discord where I chat with my channel members, and we can talk about what we're reading, and that's where my book club is hosted, and it's really fun. So I hope you'll think about doing that going forward this year. So I think my reading year is off to a good start. I feel like I'm doing a good pace. There are some things that I'd like to work better at, like reading a little bit more of my arcs, because I do always feel behind when it comes to my reading as far as arcs go. I always have so many arcs to get to, and I just cannot keep up. I need to start working more on reading nonfiction, because I have not read a lot so far this year, and it will start picking up because I am reading some more things now that are nonfiction, but that is definitely the one spot I feel like I'm lagging behind when it comes to like my reading challenges, is definitely keeping up with the nonfiction. But otherwise, I feel really good about where my reading is so far in 2025. So let me know down below in the comments, how is your reading year going? How did you do in the first 3 months of the year? Are you happy with where you're at? Do you want to try to read more things? Is there a place, like a reading challenge, that is a struggle for you? I would just love to hear about how your reading year is going. So let's chat about it in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.